All right, Jamie, so you gave us a ton of information. We're sold. How do I eat? And like I said, I leaned into this lifestyle, right? Okay, you didn't get this, Jamie. You had Tubby Fat Italian Jamie. That's how he started. He leaned into this. And I was very, very successful with a standard paleo diet. I can't take that away, okay? That was awesome. And I did really well at it. The majority of you in this room would probably do phenomenal at it unless you're really metabolically damaged at some level. You have some type of diabetes, you have some type of insulin resistance, you have some type of other kind of information going on, some bad stuff. Very successful at it. Cookie cutter numbers up here. If you want to take that Paleolithic or even start with a nutritional ketosis diet and work your way back the other way, that's fine too. People have been very successful going keto first and then maybe working in more real foods as they go. Doesn't matter. What worked for me may not work for Holly or anybody else in this room. You have to find, first and foremost, what works for you. Do I think keto paleo is the super diet? Yeah, I do, but that's where I'm at today. Okay? And you might not be able to pull that off. I don't want you to come here to think I got to eat off this sheet, adjust my macros with Jamie's keto check, otherwise I'm going to die. That's not true. That's not true. I'm here to help you. So I want you guys to be successful. You can do one or the other or both. If you have the personality where you got to lean into it and change your lifestyle, lean into it and change your lifestyle. If you're very successful Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, oh shit, everybody went to the bar, I had wings, blah, blah, blah. Don't throw in the towel. Pick up where you left off. This is a lifestyle change. You fell. You're human. Don't let that destroy you. I wouldn't keep doing that if your goal is optimal health or you're trying to deal with some type of metabolic disease, but as you're finding your way, you can be very successful. This is one of the Lauren Cordain things. You can be very successful being a 100% paleo 85% of the time. I had those cheat meals in there a couple times a week. Okay? And that may be all you need, unless you're really metabolically damaged. If you're really metabolically damaged, you're sitting in there, you're on statins, you have type 2 diabetes, or your doctors want you to put on this, that, or the other thing, I'm going to say go keto paleo because I think that is metabolically and healthy, the best repair diet you can probably put your body on. Okay? You're getting the best of both worlds. You have this grocery list of real foods. Most of that metabolic damage came from years and years of elevated blood sugar and insulin levels and other hormone screw-ups. You may need to go hardcore for a while to repair your system. And you may end up somewhere else. Okay? I can't dictate where you end up in your journey. There's a lot of diets out there that have been very successful. Okay? And here's kind of an outline. Defining like a low carb diet versus like a nutritional ketogenic diet. Paleo diet does fall in the low carb range compared to a standard American diet. How many people get gas in the morning at like a Speedway or something like that? How many people you see ritualistically grabbing breakfast pizza, Gatorade, I'm mentioning names because I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying, and a candy bar and a couple of sodas. Pretty ritualistically. I stopped in there the other day, and those Speedways are like little cities of junk food, and you're just like, holy cow, look at, and these people are just, and you can tell, every morning, that's their ritual. That might have to change. There's going to be some level of lifestyle change here. Tools to be successful, I talked about checking blood level ketones. I talked about seeing if you're in a state of nutritional ketosis. Don't think you need to buy these fancy tools to be successful, okay? in the beginning, and it comes back from my engineer days, I was really into numbers. I wanted to get a blood meter. I wanted to see where my blood glucose was. I wanted to see where my ketone levels were. I want to see how different foods affect my blood level beta hydroxybutyrate. I want to see how it affects my acetone levels via breath. And I got these tools. They're great. They're great if you're a numbers guy. They're great if you're troubleshooting. They're great because I like the manufacturers of both these places too, especially Michelle, who makes the ketonics, which I can get a deal on for you guys if you need it. Keto Check is a great tool for those of you that are learning nutrition labels and stuff like that. So keep in mind that these tools are out there. These are things that will help measure your level of how far into ketosis you are. But I'm gonna warn you, and I get this pretty regular in my gym. You get people who are very successful, and they'll say, hey, I want to get one of those breath meters. Get me one of those breath meters. I said, okay, that's cool. Why do you want to get a breath meter? I want to see where I want to really dial this in. I said, so far you've lost 30 pounds. You're stronger, faster, and you told me your blood level ketones. Uh-oh. Let me check my power here real quick. There we go. That's why the phone charger didn't work. Power strip wasn't on. I go, you lost 30 pounds, you're healthier, you can run better because he's a runner too, and blah, blah, blah. I said, what do you care your ketone levels are at right now? Why do you have to chase them? You're eating a low-carb diet, you're being very successful, you may or may be teetering in and out of ketosis. I can't say if that's bad or good anyway. And you're seeing results. Why bother? You're right. Why spend $100? Now, if you told me you were just curious, okay, cool, let's get you one. Or we're stuck. I'm at a plateau. I want to dial this in to the nth. I've messed around with macros. Nothing's working. Let's see if maybe there's a food in my diet bumping me out that I'm not aware of. Cool, let's get you one. Let's see what it's doing. Oh, look, there was a hidden ingredient in that keeps elevating your blood sugar levels once a day. You thought it was safe. Habits. I want you guys all read this meme real quick. Habits are hard to break. A little admission here. One of my biggest evils has been diet pop. Okay, from a ketogenic standpoint, I'm fine. I'm good. It's not going to raise my blood sugar. Is there something potentially wrong with it? That's not very paleo, Jamie. I know. Tastes good. Probably. So, and I made a deal with my son that I would quit. And habit. Holy cow. It's not, I mean, in the beginning I wanted it bad, but talk about habit, because I do outside sales, so I drive, long drive. I love to grab, a snack and a pop, hit the road, because I'm just sipping and going. Whew, habit's hard to break. You may very well have to remove yourself from common practices. Okay, if you have some goals in mind right now, and those goals involve losing this weight and not eating this stuff, and you usually go bowling every Tuesday night with the guys, and you eating pizza and pretzels and throwing back beers, you may not be able to go bowling for a while if you're that personality type, because you may fail every time, and then it's just be a big landslide. This is a very, very addictive thing. There's a lot of studies, and I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, that Sugar Film, which is another good documentary. It highlights a lot of the studies with sugar and, I thought you were giving me the wrap it up thing.
No,
okay.
I'm moving my hands. Sorry.
I'm rattling on. A lot of study. Yeah, I like to talk today, Jamie. A lot of studies being done on, the addictiveness of sugar, almost compared to that of cocaine levels, where rats would take sugar over cocaine. Now, granted, we're not rats, but there is a lot of research done on how it affects the same opiate cell receptors in the brain. Okay, this is no joke for some of us. For 250-pound shop vac Jamie, this was no joke. That's why I had to lean into it. So you're going to have to find your way. You almost have to treat it like a drug addiction at some level. Some of you I've seen do this cold turkey. Boom, now I'm good. You told me it was bad, not going to do it anymore. I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, my internal Tubby is there every day. That guy you've seen on the left side of the screen is still here now. That guy will F up a box of donuts right now if he gave him the Struthers. right? He would. So I understand. Is it expensive? This is definitely one of those pay me now or pay me later kind of things, okay? So we brought up the fact that you may be on some type of drug or insulin or this, that, or the other thing. $245 billion in the U.S. are spent on type 2 diabetes in this country. That's completely a diet-related illness. If you could free up $245 billion today, we wouldn't need Trump. We'd be good. We could have jobs all over the world. You know, $470 billion worldwide cost on one food-related disease. 75% of the world healthcare costs go to metabolic diseases. Now that's obesities, type 2 diabetes, all this other kind of things. Okay? That's a lot of money. The other argument I always get is it really cheaper? You know, I don't know. You can do this diet pretty successful with bacon and eggs, right? And even if you took it to the paleo level, you know, so what's a dozen eggs? $3, $4? If you go to the, you know, farmer's market, nice, good stuff. I got some local farms by me. I still get them for like $1.25. Heck, I got gym members that bring them to me because they have 40 chickens at home. $4, some olive oil, some bacon. All right, so $4, you could literally eat 4 eggs. 4 eggs is a lot. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now compare that to the value meal at the drive-thru, which is one meal that you're eating at 80 miles an hour. It's not cheaper. Olive oil's cheap. You can get that jug at Costco, you know, for like $13. That thing's going to last you a decade, you know. Well, not really, not the way I eat it, but you know what I'm saying. And a dozen eggs, salads, salmon. It doesn't have to be natural, healthy, organic every single time. I was very successful being paleo at your standard grocery stores with factory meats. Why? Because your body knows better what to do with bad meat, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, even if it's factory, than it does bread and dairy. Okay? And if you remove that huge sugar load out of there too, it's going to be very successful if you do a keto paleo version, even at your standard grocery store. Right? Because your body knows better what to do with those things, even though they're not the most nutritious. Should you strive eventually to be eating a pasture-finished cow? Probably. Should you be striving to eat wild-caught fish and salmon? Yeah, you probably should be. Can you still be very successful without it? Yeah, I was. One more slide, and I hope this one doesn't offend anybody. But I run into this one a lot, okay? And anyone who has ever been on a diet in this room, for serious reasons or not, especially if you're competing, you may run into this, right? You go to these social gatherings where someone says, come on, you know, if they know you're on a diet, come on, live a little, you know. And then I'm going to read it to you. It says, and this is how one of my responses, and I've even had a friend of mine blow up at their family with the same exact response. I don't eat that shit because I don't want to look like shit. I don't want to feel like shit or have my health be for shit. So don't tell me to live a little. Don't tell me you only live once. That's the reason I'm not eating this. But I've got goals right now. And guess what? Those goals don't involve that shit. Sometimes you're going to have to fight for yourself. And a lot of times it's the work break room, family gathering with friends, right? That, you know, you tell them you're going back to school. Hey, yeah, good for you. You tell them, hey, I'm trying to eat healthy. Oh, that's good, until you get to, oh, yeah, dude, you should live a little. So you're telling me that your taste buds is what's going to dictate your quality of life? Bacon tastes good. For those of you who have jobs where you don't get the luxury of going out to eat every day like I do, okay, you might have to do a little food prep. I know my nurses are stuck to their stations sometimes, and they have to be prepared a little. It's going to be a little bit of an effort. It's going to take a little bit of a time. You know, take some time. Don't fall into, or don't combine both. I had one of my members that was start the day very keto, breakfast, lunch, get home, be tired, fall into old habits. They'd order a pizza. She was doing this every day. for about 2 weeks and was gaining weight exponentially because she'd start the day on a high-fat diet and the end of the day on a high-carb diet. She was getting lambasted with calories, okay? There is a lot of good keto treats and recipes out there now. Be careful with those. For some of us that are really, really addicted, they may just drag this along for you. Try to get to real food as much as possible if you ever find yourself in that situation. Use those treats as a port in a storm. Perfect example of that is, a lot of people at my gym are very keto. You know, they see the results, they're following me, they see the results, another girl jumps on and say, oh my God, she lost, 100 pounds. Oh my God, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden, I have this whole keto vibe at my gym. Got another girl who's an aspiring chef. Through the holidays, she made all keto treats and would put them in my fridge at the gym. People come in buying keto cookies, keto cakes, keto donuts, and they were great to get us through the holidays. But we all got fat keto. All of a sudden we're going, oh my God, we got keto fat. Calories do eventually play a role. And so be careful of those. Use them as a port in a storm is what I like to say. There's a lot of great manufacturers finally coming around. And I'm going to post some links at the end. Especially, I got some good samples for you guys here too. So what has to be done? I'm almost to the point where we're going to have to treat this, I think, like smoking. I think there's almost going to have to be a point where we start regulating some stuff. I'm not saying getting rid of it, but I mean, just take your standard grocery store. You can't get through the lobby without a candy machine and a pop machine right there. You're going to the grocery store, for Christ's sake, that has a whole pop aisle and has a whole candy aisle, and you can't get through the door without needing another sample. Then you get to the register, which is another 25 feet. There's candy there. Heck, you go to some of these department stores, Coles, and there's candy at the register there. I'm like, what place does this have? From a business standpoint, I get it. I'm going to grab it. It's a snack. Most of America thinks it's a snack. It's a way to, I'm a little hungry, I better grab some candy. Then you go down the aisles. The aisles are just bombarded with it. I'm not saying we should get rid of it. I'm saying the candy should be in the candy aisle, pop should be in the pop aisle, and that's it. And there may be some legislation in there. We're giving things a pass. Have you guys heard a term called dad bod? This is this pass they're giving to these teenagers now that have middle-aged men physiques. And I see it a lot now, especially coming through my gym. They're giving them a pass on. It used to be when I was in high school, I had 28-inch jeans, blah 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 blah, and I was the best shape of my life. And I'm looking at some of these kids now, going, "We need to reel it in, buddy. You need some help. Let me help you." Not to mention, to some people, that's fighting words. So here's a sample of what a day in a sample paleo diet would look for me. And I can post this too, or I can print it off, or I actually offer, if you guys take this to a certain level, I do meal plans for people. If you guys need help, Jamie, I weigh this is my activity level, write me out a month of meals, and I'll just follow it, and maybe I can learn from that. We do that, okay? But this is an idea of a sample paleo diet, and this was very common when I was learning to be paleo, okay? A keto version of that would basically just taking out the carbs or lowering the carbs significantly, okay? And at the time, for me, before a lot of these keto treats would come out, my go-to sweet tooth was coconut milk in a blender with some ice and some cinnamon. Tasted just like a milkshake to me. That's another thing that'll happen is once you remove yourself from these factory engineered foods for a while, your palate will reset. And a lot of people don't know this, that a lot of these things are engineered for what's called the bliss point. So if the I just can't eat one is by design. There is some guys out there engineering that stuff to the point where you put in your mouth, it is the exact bliss point for your mouth where you don't want to put it down. Engineered with chemicals that didn't exist during our evolution, like these fructoses and these other sweeteners that are 100 times sweeter than anything we've ever had naturally, exploding in your mouth, causing your brain to just go, I want more, because it never had it. Perfect example of that is when you have those diet sodas that are mixed with aspartame and caffeine. that creates a what do they call? Oh my God, I just brain cramped on it. Excitotoxin. I'm sorry, excitotoxin. So aspartame by itself is arguable. Okay, you'd have to need a ton of it to be toxic. But caffeine and aspartame mixed together creates an excitotoxin that takes your brain cells to a point of excitement right before it dies, that it's almost in a bliss point. So then there comes that addiction. You've heard of diet pop addictions. I have. And they're hard. Okay, that's part of the reason. The cancer-causing agent in most pops anyway was the caramel color. For people who didn't know that, 4-mel. It actually was a chemical in it. It was actually didn't have to do with that combination of whatever. So what are some resources? My webpage, keto-paleo.com. I try to post as much as I can on there. There's a lot of holiday recipes on there right now. Okay? A lot of holiday recipes to get you through the holidays. Previously, I would go through the holidays and I would go from keto back to standard paleo. But my brain started saying, it's glucose anyway, just eat whatever. And I found myself in a state of carb shark. Okay? So it was like, hey, what's for dinner? I don't know, F it, donuts. You know, because it's going to break down to the micromolecule glucose anyway. What do I care? You know? So I don't do that anymore. I stay keto pretty much 365 now. I've had a couple weekends that I experimented with this last year where I'd bump out and bump back in because I wanted to see how my body responded. And I can get back into ketosis pretty quick, but I never got that action figure mode that I got staying 6 months this year, okay, which was huge. And for my performance, I didn't even compete this year. My systemic inflammation never got low enough where I felt like I could compete this year, which was huge for me. This is the first year I haven't competed in something in 25 years, I think. Okay? So that was a big deal for me. And that's how much of a difference I feel, if you always know any athletes, how much of a difference I feel being keto adapted and on a keto paleo diet. So that being said, here's some of those resources, and we got some samples for you guys as you leave, okay? Quest Keto is huge. They are doing phenomenal things right now. They have meals, so for your nurses and guys on busy levels, you can actually get frozen meals from them. They're expensive for shipping right now because they don't have the distribution channels as combed out as they want to, so they have to pack everything in dry ice, which is expensive. So I would suggest just partnering up with a friend if you're going to do that. But the treats, they got good treats on there. They have an almond butter and jam sandwich that tastes just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You would not miss a beat. Okay? The treats on there, if you get a chance to try their peanut butter cups, they are hands down better than the other name manufacturer. Why? Because it's a ton of fat. And it's smooth and creamy and delicious. Port in a storm, guys, port in a storm. But they're awesome. That Cinnabon that they're showing in that picture, you smack your mom for one. I'm going to tell you what right now. It's delicious. It's delicious. Ketologie, that's a broth. One of the big things about being successful going ketogenic, and I want to make a big point about this, is when you switch over from a heavy carb-based diet to a ketogenic diet, you'll notice a drop in blood pressure because of that metabolic shift and you don't need as much water. Your body can only hold sodium at a blood level. Okay, that's really only where it can hold it. And you'll sweat that out, especially if you're trying to train too. And you might get that fogginess, or sometimes on the internet you'll hear it called keto flu, or keto Atkins flu was what it used to be called. Now it's keto flu because no one wants to give Atkins any credit. He was phenomenal cardiologist, by the way. If you've never read his book, cover to cover, do it. A little broth will get rid of that in a heartbeat. A cup of broth, half hour before it. Even if you go, so if you're one of those Speedway gas station guys and you go from Speedway gas station to normal paleo and you feel that brain foggy, a cup of broth will do that in a heartbeat. They were kind enough to donate some. And as well as if you're looking for that bread alternative, like, Jamie, I'm just dying, I want bread. Fox Hill Kitchens, they donated some samples that I got for you guys too. And I'm going to ask that you take that when we're all done with today. Okay, so that being said, thank you so much for coming. We're going to take at least a 10-minute break. Okay, probably 10. Let's try to keep it to 10. It's 12:21, so let's shoot for 2:21. Let's shoot for 3:21. And I'm sorry. Someone fix me, all right? Someone fix me. 2:31. I need some broth. Yeah, cognitive function on ketosis, right, Jamie? And we'll come back then. I'll resume the live feed then too, and we'll get Holly all set up, and she'll go through her spiel, and then we'll take a break again, and we'll live stream Tyler and his part too, because he had a flight delay in Atlanta and snow, and like I said. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.